tangles, cars, and...
I guess it's a matter of perspective. We'll get back to open lines coming up next on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punter.
I'm Johnny D'Agostini in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Kyle Rittenhouse is headed home following the conclusion of his trial. On Friday, Rittenhouse left Kenosha, Wisconsin after he was acquitted of all charges against him. The 18-year-old always maintained he killed 2 men and injured a third in self-defense last year during social justice protests in the area. President Biden is cheering House passage of his social spending plan. In a statement, he called it another giant step forward. Biden claims the measure is fully paid for thanks to wealthy Americans and corporations paying more in taxes. A rare copy of the U.S. Constitution is in the hands of a new owner. Citadel founder Kenneth Griffin says he purchased the document at an auction Thursday and paid $43 million for it. A video of college basketball star Dexter Dennis picking up trash in the stands after a game is going viral on Twitter. The Wichita State Shockers player was helping clean up in the area 30 minutes after a recent final buzzer. Dennis took to Twitter in response to say he didn't do it for the attention. Really local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom, I'm Johnny D'Agostini.
All lanes shut down in Huntington Beach on the northbound side of the 405 Beach Boulevard to Westminster Avenue. Caltrans will till around the top of the hour. There are detour signs in place there. Lots of sudden delays approaching the closure. Anaheim Hills, eastbound side of the 91, Lakeview to Imperial Highway 4, right lane toned up till around 7 o'clock. And Montebello 63 east and west to Berry and Rosemead Boulevard. Two left lane shutdown direction till around 8 o'clock this morning. You're seeing minor delays through those stretches. KFI and Sky helps get faster.
Want to sell your valuable coins, high-end jewelry, collectibles, or fine art for more? Here's someone who will tell you why you should call Tangible Investment.
Hi, my name is Allie Eastburn, and I'm the founder of With This Ring.
With This Ring is Allie's charity.
About 11 years ago, I realized that the ring on my finger could literally save an entire village in Africa. So I donated that ring, and now we have rings coming in to our organization from women and men all over the world.
So who buys Allie's donated rings?
Tangible Investments. Our ring donors send our rings directly to Tangible Investments, and they give us more money for those rings than anyone else ever has.
With Phil's help, Allie is changing the world.
It helps us do what we do best, which is drilling clean water wells in Liberia, Africa.
Tangible Investments owner Sylvie Genova has become America's top dealer in coins, precious metals, jewelry, and fine art. She'll guarantees you'll get more.
Thanks so much, Phil and Tangible Investments, for all you've done for us.
Call now for a no-obligation free professional appraisal. 800-711-2800. 800-711-2800. 800-711-2800.
A Light Source whole house water filtration system provides filtered, delicious water from every faucet, every shower in your home, and it's connected directly to your plumbing. With Light Source, you skip the cost, the hassle of buying bottled water, reduce your hard water problems and scale buildup. No hassle, high quality, whole house system. It filters out chlorine and added chemicals from your water, and there's no maintenance of any kind. You install it and it is done. And for a limited time, Light Source Water will pay your sales tax, and this promotion ends on November 30th. There's no middleman. With Light Source Water, you get factory direct service and expertise. Call Light Source for full service, full confidence in your water. I have a system. I love it. Call 800-334-5009, 800-334-5009. Visit lightsourcewater.com. Light Source Water, taste and feel the difference.
We've all heard that you've got the right to remain silent, but have you ever really thought about what that means? It's the police literally telling you to shut up. I'm attorney Darren Kavanoki from 1-800-NO-CUFFS. If you're in custody and everything you say can and definitely will be used against you, remain silent and just shut up. Just make your one phone call to 1-800-NO-CUFFS, the leader in criminal defense. 1-800-NO-CUFFS, because no one looks good in handcuffs, unless you're into that sort of thing. 1-800-NO-CUFFS.
KFI AM 640.
You're ready to go back again. Cash is paid play. You want more hits than lemonade. You don't You don't even know me. This vagabond with a tip-off hat to the great beyond. Big genuine, ground floor art, I can help you find. You're a dreamer, call me when you're fever. And when they play it, you can't help but sing along. That's nothing odd, that's nothing wrong. 'Cause a good song never dies. It just reminds you of where you were the first time it made you cry. The first time you felt alive. No good song never. No good song never. The first time they made you cry. The first time you felt alive. No good song never.
To talk to Ian Punnett, call the Wildcard line at 818-501-4109. The first-time caller line is 818-501-4721. To talk toll-free from east of the Rockies, call 800-825-5033. From west of the Rockies toll-free, call 800-618-8255. This is Coast to Coast AM with Ian Punnett.
What a great band, Saint Motel. And a good song never dies. That's what I like to think about all of our bumpers, you know? They're just eternal. And we'll do some of those coming up tomorrow night. We'll be talking with Peter Coyote. He's a counterculturalist from way back. He's one of those people, as an actor and a voiceover performer, that you sort of associate with establishment characters, right? He's always wearing a suit, right, of some sort, or he's a voice of authority because of his pipes. He certainly is that in E.T., right? He's the doctor in E.T., but he's really, he's just really subversive guy. He's very interesting. And he has this whole kind of interesting take on the things that we do that can change our lives. So we'll get metaphysical coming up tomorrow night on Coast to Coast AM with Peter Coyote. Then an update in that very first hour on the Illinois MUFON story that I was reporting on firsthand from a couple of weeks ago. Tom Danheiser is standing by. You know, if you love to talk about these coast subjects, it's always nice to have a conversation partner, and I think it's pretty cool that Paranormal Date is still going strong, especially this time of year, where people can feel a little lonely, a little isolated.
It's getting to be the holidays. Yeah. Evelyn, let me ask you, when you were in your dating life, how did you decide what age group you wanted to date?
I was part of a different group called Abnormal Date. So I signed up. I was in Abnormal Date, and it was a matchmaking service that worked out very well for me, quite frankly. But
excellent.
You got to you got to swim in the right pool, I'd say. So.
Well, you know, years ago, we came up with ParanormalDate.com for people just like you were just talking about that thing,
right.
You know, the same way. Some people require, or not require, but they maybe want a more mature person, you know, to date. So we've also come up with ParanormalDate.com/seniors, and this is for those that are 60 plus. So we've got ParanormalDate.com for everybody, and then ParanormalDate.com/seniors for those that are 60 plus.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people. I think after 60, my mom's had 3 husbands after 60 years old. So, yeah, it doesn't mean life has to be over by any means.
Hey, listen, I wanted to tell you real quick. Sorry to interrupt you there, Nick.
No.
The last segment was one of my favorites so far this night.
Okay.
And when you said 2 plus 2 is still 4, I can't believe I heard, can we make 2 plus 2 5?
Well, and his point is a theoretical mathematician might be able to do that. But it doesn't mean it really changes the fact that 2 plus 2 does still equals 4.
Not in my world, it is 4.
Right. Well, unfortunately, in my accounting right now, it actually equals 3. I'm losing money whenever I calculate how much I've got invested these days. I'm beginning to think my math is wrong. All right, we'll get back to open lines. You grab a bunch of ones for us coming up, and we'll get them next on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punnett.
If you're tired of big cable bills, you can get Newsmax TV for free. And millions are watching Newsmax, available now on major cable systems or free on smart TVs like Samsung, LG, and Vizio. Also find it on Roku, Zumo, Pluto, Amazon Fire, TiVo, Apple TV, and more. 7 million Americans have downloaded the free Newsmax app on their phone. It takes just seconds to watch it anytime. Download it today and find out why Forbes calls Newsmax a news powerhouse.
Whether you're vaccinated or not, it's important to know the symptoms of COVID and its variants. Fever is the leading sign, and only the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer has been proven accurate with more than 100 clinical studies. Non-contact thermometers have no clinical evidence behind them and cannot be relied on. Be vigilant and seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Be accurate with Exergen. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Hey parents, here's some good news for America's future. Kids ages 5 to 11 are now eligible for a COVID vaccine. That means all those future CEOs and artists, the world-class chefs and the sports stars, the engineers and the innovators, they're all eligible for a vaccine that can help protect their future. And it's specifically formulated just for them. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Sometimes the world can seem a cold place, so we gotta bring the warmth to it. Sometimes the world can seem a broken place, so we gotta strive to fix it. At the end of the day, we are empowered to create the world we want to live in. So we prepare for the worst, but we must always, always expect the best. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans.
So, standing by all sorts of people, most of them regulars. So we'll slog through that coming up and get to you an open line for you to join the conversation. Let's start first-time caller line. Mike is in Jamestown, New York, on Coast to Coast. Mike?
Hey, you got me. How you doing, man?
You have me. I'm doing very well. Go ahead. Where do you want to take it?
First-time listener, first-time caller. Where do you want me to start? I am the smartest man in the world, self-proclaimed. It's up to you to judge me. I'm going to allow you to judge me because we're not supposed to judge people according to the Bible.
I don't want to judge you.
In the entire world. Well, let's start with UFO. I'll start, and then you go from there. So the reason that no one's telling you what a UFO is because it's a flying object. What does U stand for? Unidentified. Why not ask the optimal question, what about an IFO, an identified flying object? So you're asking the wrong question. Now ask me another question.
Well, you're doing a great job interviewing yourself. Why would I want to horn in?
So I'm a doctor. I went to Columbia, blah, blah, blah. Was a chemist, not a chef, but a chef-ish. So I cooked for every possible type of food. So I have a pretty good idea of everything. Was going to be a chemical engineer, wound up becoming a foot surgeon.
Okay.
Go on.
No, you're doing great. So what's the next question you're going to ask yourself?
I would say that we do not have aliens. I'm sorry. We have aliens from other countries, and those are the ones that are going to, quote, unquote, invade our country, but we want them to invade our country. So I am, if you want to Google this, write this down, everyone.
No.
26,755.
No. What is it? So if you are a foot surgeon, what type of surgery do you specialize in? Let me ask you that.
Foot and ankle. But you want to know the great thing is, I'm not going to do your surgery because there's a guy who does more of that procedure. So you're going to come to me, Mike, we heard you're good. Dr. Mike. No, I won't do it because the guy next door, one of my friends, is going to do the surgery because he does 100 of them a year. I've done 1 or 2 this year. No, I give my surgeries away now, and I do more sports medicine type.
Okay. Well, I totally believe you. And if you had said to me, go to another guy, I would go, I will. So thank you, and I will do the same thing with another caller. So Bill is in Los Angeles, Wildcard line on Coast to Coast AM. Bill? Hi, Ian. I went to Columbia, too, and I think I saw that guy being carted away in a straitjacket. Maybe it's somebody else. I'm not sure.
Everybody I know is a doctor, so I'm not impressed. But anyway, go ahead.
Hey, for that Moody Blues update, those guys were just awesome.
They were.
And what's that song? Is it called Question? Or is that the name that
One of their songs is Question, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of great. Did that guy play drums on that one?
He was the drummer or percussionist for everything they did. Yeah, going back to the earliest incarnations of them.
Yeah, because that's a great drum song, too.
It is.
And I think, because I wanted to talk just briefly about music, but I think that song to me, I think that song preceded The Who's Tommy, but they didn't release it. And I always thought that Tommy might have lifted a little bit.
That fanfare thing, the trumpet piece you're talking about? Yeah.
No, a bunch of, they're called sustained fourths on the guitar where you play them high up on the neck.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of got that same decreasing thing that Tommy does.
Okay, cool. And so here's what I'm going to say. I do not have the wherewithal to withstand your usual trivia and or pun questions that I probably will not excel at tonight. But I can hook you up with that. I can hook you up with that foot doctor from Jamestown if you want to go back. You want to go back and forth with him. Bill, I got to move on. Let me go to Joe in Long Island on Coast to Coast AM. Joe?
And, the 2 plus 2 equals 4. You got to face that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're surfing a 20-foot wave, you got to know it's a 20-foot wave, not a 5-foot wave, and prepare for simply, getting beat up a little bit. But regarding the episode, this whole idea of just a one-hit wonder, should we have maybe gone a little bit further down the road and trying for another hit song or even a popular song? I mean, you teach...
We're talking about Staff Sergeant Barry.
Yeah. For example, you teach podcasting, right?
Right.
What are the expectations? You do one podcast and then say I'm no good at this,
Well, he had 2 albums out, and each album was filled with about a dozen songs. None of them were particularly long, so maybe 10 songs, 10 to 12. I mean, I think if he had another great song in him, that would have been the time to pull that out of the file. I don't think he did. And I don't think part of the limitation was and this is one of the things I learned in the story, The Ballad of the Green Beret, and if people missed it, they can go back and listen to the first couple hours, is that Sergeant Barry Sadler actually couldn't play the guitar very well, and he had a very limited understanding of music and of melody, and that's why everything kind of sounded the same. So it was maybe just lightning in a bottle. And he caught it, and he attempted to recreate it, and it never happened. And that happens with people who are music theorists, who know a lot about how to construct a pop song, but still can't come up with another hit, don't you think?
Yeah, that's interesting, though. I guess he wasn't a champion. How about with podcasting? What would you say the expectations would be for a podcaster?
Honestly, you use the same term as you get on the bottle of shampoo. It's lather, rinse, repeat. And any podcast, any radio show, any media endeavor, it's all about the repetition. And there's a lot of people who say, I've got a great idea for a podcast, and they'll tell you, great idea for a podcast. And I say, great, well, what would be episode 2? And then they go, and I think that's where it comes down to it is you have to want to go back into it every day and romance the stone and find out something that you didn't do the night before or whatever, and you're going to keep doing that for years. And to get good at something, it's just like any other kind of exercise. You're just using the muscles in your brain. You got to go out and practice. You got to shoot free throws. You got to, and that's what podcasting is all about. That's where a lot of people make really bad podcasts.
because they only had one great idea, and then once they do it, they're like stupefied that they have to do it again.
So they're not able to unravel further mysteries, that type of thing.
I think that happens all the time. I mean, we have close to 4 million podcasts now. And overwhelmingly, I mean, 99% of them are terrible. And they're terrible because people just started them. They do them sporadically. They do one every 3 weeks. They don't do it enough to get good at it. And they don't do it enough that they're anything more than a dilettante, right? They're just going at it. They're just kind of sampling it. They want to say that they do it, but they're not really dedicated to the craft. And it is a craft. And you gotta get in, like woodworking. You just gotta get into it every day, or all you're doing is the same thing you did 3 weeks ago.
Are some of them too long, though?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. What would be a good time for a starter?
So generally, I think some. Well, first of all, podcasts are listened to asynchronously, right? So that means you could theoretically do a 4-hour podcast, but people are only going to listen to it in increments. So you might as well do it incrementally, I think. And I think it's better to give people a beginning, a middle, and an end. I advocate under 45 minutes. I think you could find that it's better to do a rock'em sock'em 35 minutes than to do a 45 minutes. And so give them everything you got. Come out swinging, make it great from the second you start talking to the second you click off the mic, and people will keep listening. Now, is that 51 minutes sometimes? I don't know. I mean, there's no set time, but I do know that what we have proven, I think, fairly effectively is that it's 2 to 3 times a week for people to really catch on to the podcast and to really know what you're doing.
So more often rather than less often.
Oh yeah, yeah. Do it on if you drop them on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you built an audience that way. It'll be your greatest hope, I think. But even if you did it Tuesdays and Fridays, which is what a lot of people do, something that goes through, people listen to it on their leisure in the weekend, and then something they can listen to on their way into work during the week.
Well, it's incredible that the one story that you had at the beginning tonight about that guy that overate got 250 million views.
Right.
I mean, yeah. That's incredible.
But now,
$1 billion.
Right, but now what's your second act? So there's your lightning in the bottle moment. There's your Sergeant Barry Sadler moment. So some guy goes in, he gets kicked out for overeating at a buffet. If every week he does that, are people going to keep tuning in to see a guy overeat? Doubt it. So then what? Well, don't know. That's why it's not a podcast. It was just kind of an event. Somebody caught it on video. Right. Yeah. And there are worse things that can happen in your life, right? I mean, there's a lot of great songs. I was just thinking about this one song from the 70s the other day called Sweet Mary by Wadsworth Family Mansion, this band that came and went, but it was a top song for, a couple months. A really great song, and then never heard from again. And I think those kind of things, if I were them, I would look back on that with pride for the rest of my life and go, I did what most people would dream of doing, and I did it, and it was good enough to be a one-hit wonder. And that there's something about that which is still kind of magical.
But say a Karen Carpenter, she's just riding a good voice. I mean, it almost didn't matter what she sang. It's going to come out fairly good.
Well, but remember, she wasn't the singer.
She was not the singer?
Well, she was a singer, but she was a drummer. She got into music. Her voice was an accident. And that wonderful alto of hers, it took her brother to encourage her to sing. She never wanted to sing.
Wow.
And she didn't think of herself as a good singer. So it really wasn't. I mean,
I can't hear that. It's both of you and your passes.
She decided she wanted to be, part of the wrecking crew,
Oh, it's like
Hal
both
Blaine,
of
like
you
drummer in
Android
the
fans.
studios in LA, she would have done quite well. But it turns out she had that beautiful voice too. And she's not the only one. We discovered that they had a voice by accident. So we'll leave that there for now. So it's pleasant to go to Daniel, who's in Wichita on Coast to Coast. Daniel, how are you feeling tonight, buddy?
Hi, yes, 120
Oh,
seconds.
store package.
I always do for you. Go ahead.
Okay, I haven't talked to anybody in 3 weeks except my doctor. I listened to you. I started talking. Sometimes I talk too fast, so if I do, let me know. First, I didn't know about Graham Edge, and I'm glad I heard it from you.
Yeah.
You mentioned that he was a good drummer. I